The Tham Luang Cave Rescue 2018, a youth football team, a flooded cave, 18 days underground, and one of the most dangerous rescue missions ever attempted. We begin. Part 1. The day they didn't come back. June 23, 2018. Northern Thailand, Chiang Rai Province. 12 boys from a local football team called the Wild Boars rode their bicycles. They rode to the entrance of a cave system after practice. Their coach was with them. He was 25 years old. The plan was simple: explore briefly, celebrate a birthday, and come back before dark. The cave was called Tham Luang, a long winding limestone cave system. During dry season, it was manageable. During monsoon season, it was dangerous. It was the beginning of monsoon season. But the rain that day did not seem extreme, at least not at first. The boys left their bikes outside the entrance. They entered with flashlights, laughing, relaxed. No one thought this would become international news. Deep inside the cave, the tunnels narrow, passages twist, chambers rise and fall. Some sections require crawling, others require climbing. Water begins to collect quickly in monsoon months. When rain falls on the mountain above, it drains directly into the cave system, and it fills fast. While the boys were exploring, rain intensified outside. Water began flowing into the entrance passages. At first it was just ankle deep, then knee deep, then rising fast. By the time they realized something was wrong, their exit path was gone. Inside the cave, water does not simply sit, it rushes. It fills low points first, then it blocks access between chambers. The boys moved deeper. Higher ground was their only option. They reached a chamber nearly 4 kilometers inside the cave, dark, mud-covered, elevated slightly above the flooded passages. They were trapped. They believed they would wait a few hours, then walk out. Outside, evening came. Parents began noticing something strange. The boys had not returned home. One parent rode to the cave entrance. They saw the bicycles, still parked, shoes near the entrance, no children. Authorities were alerted. Local rescue teams entered the cave. They quickly encountered rising floodwater, strong current, zero visibility. They found muddy footprints, handprints on walls, evidence they had gone deep. But water blocked the path. By nightfall, heavy rain continued. Officials realized something critical. The boys were not simply lost, they were trapped behind multiple flooded chambers. Inside the cave, oxygen levels slowly began decreasing. This would become one of the most serious threats. But at that moment, no one knew their exact location, or if they were even alive. The coach made a decision that would later save lives. He instructed the boys to sit still, conserve energy, avoid panic. They had no food, very little light, only water dripping from cave walls to drink. The cave temperature was cold, but not freezing, just enough to slowly drain strength. Day 1 passed, then day 2. Rain did not stop. Water levels rose higher. Rescuers brought in pumps and engineers. But navigating flooded cave tunnels is one of the most dangerous activities. Tight spaces, zero visibility, strong current, sharp rock edges. By day 3, international attention began. The story spread globally. 12 boys, 1 coach, trapped underground, monsoon rains intensifying. Divers from multiple countries offered help. Among them were elite British cave divers, men who specialized in underwater cave penetration. One mistake inside a cave dive means death. No vertical ascent possible, no direct route to surface. Inside the cave, the boys sat in darkness. No idea how large the rescue effort had become. They had now been inside for over a week. No contact, no food, little oxygen. The world watched, but no one knew if they were alive. By day 7, the situation had become global. The rescue effort at Tham Luang Cave was no longer local. It was international. Military units, engineers, hydrologists, cave diving specialists. Everyone understood one fact. If the boys were alive, time was running out. The cave system stretched more than 10 kilometers. Narrow passages, sharp turns, complete darkness, and now, flooded corridors. 2 British cave divers were brought in, Rick Stanton, John Valanthan. They were not typical rescue divers. They specialized in extreme cave penetration. The kind of diving where you swim for hours in pitch-black water, unable to surface. One mistake means you don't come back. They laid guideline ropes through submerged tunnels. Every meter was slow, careful. Visibility was near zero, sometimes less than 1 foot. The current was strong. Mud clouds reduced vision completely. They had to feel their way forward. Air tanks scraped against rock walls. Passages narrowed so tightly, they had to remove tanks and push them ahead. Day 8, still no contact. Oxygen levels inside the cave were dropping. Officials feared even if the boys had survived flooding, they might suffocate. Day 9. Stanton and Valanthan pushed further than any team before them. They reached a chamber called Pattaya Beach. It was expected to be the boys' refuge. It was empty. They continued deeper, further than planned, further than considered safe. And then they saw something. A faint movement above water level, on a mud slope. They lifted their lights. 13 figures, thin, covered in mud, eyes reflecting the beam. Alive. For a moment, even the divers hesitated. After 9 days underground, most assumed recovery, not rescue. Valanthan's voice broke the silence. "How many of you?" A boy answered, 13. "All 13. Yes." The diver replied calmly, "Brilliant." That single word would travel around the world. The boys were weak but conscious, hungry, cold, but alive. The coach had rationed their energy, encouraged meditation, breathing exercises, stillness. He had previously trained as a monk. That training helped keep panic under control. The divers quickly assessed conditions. The boys were sitting on a small mud bank surrounded by water. There was no simple way out. Getting to them had taken hours. Getting them out would be far more dangerous. The route back included narrow underwater tunnels, strong currents, sharp rock edges, long submerged sections. None of the boys could dive. Some could not swim. And now, a new danger emerged. Oxygen levels inside the chamber had dropped to around 15%. Normal atmospheric oxygen is 21%. At 15%, cognitive impairment begins. They could not leave the boys there indefinitely, but moving them seemed nearly impossible. The divers returned to the surface, and the world celebrated the news. They are alive. But inside command tents, celebration turned to silence. Because now came the hardest question. How do you get 13 people through flooded cave tunnels without losing even one? Options were debated. Wait for monsoon season to end. Drill from above. Teach them to dive, sedate them, and transport them underwater. Each option carried massive risk. Time was not on their side. Rain forecasts showed more storms coming. Water levels could rise again. The rescue operation grew larger. More pumps, more tanks, more personnel. Over 10,000 people were eventually involved, but even experts admitted there had never been a rescue like this before. Once the world knew the boys were alive, celebration lasted only hours. Then reality returned. They were 4 kilometers inside a flooded cave. Oxygen was dropping. Monsoon rain was still falling. Inside command tents, experts debated a solution that sounded insane. Teach 12 exhausted boys to cave dive, or sedate them, make them unconscious, and transport them underwater. Sedating non-divers inside a cave system had never been attempted at this scale. If a mask shifted underwater, if sedation wore off, if breathing stopped, there would be no immediate surface access. The person who proposed the plan was not just a diver, he was also a physician, Richard Harris. He understood 2 things. Panic would kill them faster than water. A calm, unconscious body is easier to move than a terrified child. Each boy would be fitted with a full face mask, oxygen supply, wetsuit, harness system, then given a sedative strong enough to prevent panic. They would not be swimming. They would be transported. Divers would guide them through narrow, flooded tunnels, sections barely wider than a person, sharp vertical drops, strong currents. Before the operation even began, tragedy struck. A former Thai Navy SEAL volunteer, Saman Gunan, died during an oxygen delivery mission inside the cave. He lost consciousness underwater. His death changed everything. If an experienced diver could die in these conditions, what chance did sedated children have? The world watched, but most did not understand the technical difficulty. On July 8, 2018, the rescue began. The first boy was prepared, sedated, mask sealed, harness secured. Divers carried him into darkness. Water filled the tunnel. The current pushed against them. Visibility near zero. At narrow choke points, divers had to remove tanks, push them ahead, and pull the boy through tight gaps. At times, the child's body scraped rock walls. If the mask shifted even slightly, water would flood in. Divers constantly checked airflow, breathing, pulse. After hours underwater, the first boy reached Chamber 3, then was transferred through dry sections to waiting medical teams. He was alive. The operation continued. 4 boys on day 1, 4 more on day 2. Each extraction took 5 to 8 hours. Divers returned again and again through the same dangerous route. Fatigue increased, but the weather window was closing. Rain forecasts showed heavy storms returning. By day 3, only 4 remained inside, including the coach. Oxygen levels had fallen further. Water levels were unstable. Pumps ran continuously. The final extraction began. Every diver knew, if pumps failed or rain intensified, the chamber could flood completely. But one by one, the remaining boys were transported out. Then the coach. Then the last diver exited the cave. All 13 were rescued. It had taken 18 days underground. Over 10,000 personnel, hundreds of divers, international coordination, military logistics, engineering innovation, medical risk, and the most dangerous cave extraction in modern history. But the story is not finished, because survival is only one chapter. When the final diver exited the cave on July 10, 2018, the world erupted in relief. News stations called it a miracle. Leaders from multiple countries issued statements of praise. But inside the medical tents, the atmosphere was calm and clinical. The boys were immediately transported to a hospital in Chiang Rai. They were placed in isolation, not because of danger to others, but because their immune systems were compromised. They had been inside a damp cave for 18 days. Exposed to bacteria, fungus, and stagnant water, doctors performed lung scans, blood tests, infection screenings. Most were physically weak. Several had mild pneumonia. 1 had a lung infection. All had lost weight. But remarkably, none suffered life-threatening organ damage. The coach, often criticized in early media coverage, was physically weaker than the boys. He had reportedly given them most of the limited water. He encouraged meditation and kept them calm. Later, psychological assessments would confirm panic had been minimal. That likely saved their lives. Globally, experts began analyzing the rescue strategy. The sedation plan had been kept relatively quiet. Now details emerged. Each boy had been given a carefully calculated dose of anesthetic, monitored by Richard Harris. There was no room for error, no second attempt. If a boy had woken up mid-tunnel, he could have ripped off the mask. That would have been fatal. Divers later admitted they expected casualties. They prepared emotionally for that possibility. Even the lead divers, including Rick Stanton and John Valanthan, would later say, it was not guaranteed to succeed. It should not have worked as smoothly as it did. And yet, it did. But the story carries a deeper lesson, because this was not only about survival, it was about coordination under extreme pressure. Over 10,000 individuals were involved: military, volunteers, divers, engineers, hydrologists. The rescue became a global demonstration of cooperation. Countries that rarely coordinate militarily worked side by side. Experts from different disciplines combined knowledge. No ego, no politics, only one objective: bring them out alive. There were emotional consequences too. In 2019, one of the rescued boys later passed away due to unrelated health complications while studying abroad. It reminded the world, survival stories do not always end in permanent safety. Life continues, fragile and unpredictable. The cave itself has since become heavily restricted, warning systems installed, seasonal closures enforced. The entrance looks peaceful. Green hills, calm surroundings, no sign of the chaos that once existed. But experts still study the operation. The rescue is now used as a case study in crisis management, high-risk medical logistics, and group psychology. And perhaps the most powerful element, Human adaptability under extreme conditions. 12 boys, one coach, no food, darkness, uncertainty. Yet discipline and calm prevailed. When asked later how they survived mentally, several boys said something simple: "We believed someone would come." That belief, combined with skill, science, and extreme bravery, turned what could have been tragedy into one of the most remarkable rescues in modern history. This was human cooperation at its highest level. And it remains one of the few stories where the ending did not match the odds, the miracle of Tham Luang.